It is time for the unofficial fifth major of the PGA Tour season, the Canadian Open. Myself, Cody Williams. It's definitely not the unofficial fifth major. In my mind, it is. It is my home country's tournament. It is the first time that we'll see the Canadian Open since 2019, since the pre-pandemic days. Very excited to jump into this. Cody, you are kind enough to join us while on vacation with a little fan-sided party in Florida. So you are in a hotel right now. How are you doing? Are you tired? Did you watch much of the Memorial Tournament this past week?
I am absolutely exhausted. Thanks for asking. But I got to watch a little bit here and there. The Memorial. I watched the first two rounds and thought I knew where it was going. And then Saturday happened, and Billy Ho, old American Psycho himself, decided
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and end this before Sunday even gets here.
Finally, a golfer for the first time in the past few weeks held on to his Sunday lead. Did not let anyone catch him. Billy Horschel. We have talked about him on the program before. Unfortunately, neither of us picked him. And we do have to, unfortunately, because we are open and honest, we have to quickly recap our picks from this past weekend, even though this week's going to sting a little bit. Cody, I don't think, well, neither of us got any. Neither of us got any last week. You picked Miss the Cut, Corey Connors. He finished T13. Top 20, Chris Kirk. He finished T53. We were very close on a few, including your top 10 and top 5. You had top 10, Davis Riley. He finished T13, one stroke out. And John Rahm, top 5, and he finished T10. Then your winner, Shane Lowry, was down at T32. Any thoughts about any of your picks?
I stand by the Riley pick. He was top 10 all week, and then the back nine on Sunday, he kind of let it slip away when conditions were really tough, and it was easy to lose a few strokes there. But I mean, he's still in great form. T13. I feel like I was in the right mindset there. But outside of that, they were not great.
Mine weren't good either. Missed the cut, Cameron Young, who was leading on Thursday. He did drop all the way down to T60. He had a very bad Sunday. I had some people after me for that pick, especially on Thursday when he was leading, but it's like, we're not going to give out guys who are going to be like minus 200 to miss the cut. We're taking some shots. Sometimes the guys we take shots on are going to be leading at some point in the tournament. It's just going to happen. We're trying to give out like actual picks people are going to bet on here. No one's going to bet on some guy who's like minus 200 to miss the cut. Top 20, CT Pan. Finished T53. Matt Kuchar for top 10. He finished T45. Sung J.M. was my closest one. I had him top 5, and he finished T10. Cameron Smith to win. Had a shot heading into Sunday, was T2, was one of the, he was like the next on the live odds list. It was Billy Horschel, obviously big favorite. Cam Smith was 6-1 heading into Sunday, but one of the worst rounds I've ever seen Cam Smith play. Dropped all the way down to, he ended up coming back a little bit at the end, so he dropped down to T13, but there was one point he was outside the top 20 on Sunday.
Yeah, Cam Smith, I mean, it's wild to watch him right now. Like, it speaks to how good the rest of his game is, but like, he was all over the yard off the tee and like having to save himself, and like, you can only do that but so many times and like still stay in contention.
So no winners from last week, but there was an event on the weekend I tweeted out a pick. To be honest, we should have talked about it on the show last week, and that was a U.S. Women's Open. We definitely should have touched on it last week. I did tweet out 3 outright picks I was on, and I did hit the winner on that one. So I was without a golf winner. Hit Minjee Lee 12-1 to win the U.S. Women's Open. I'm now an LPGA sharp. So we got to pay a little bit more attention to LPGA on the show, especially for the major tournaments moving forward. Dominant performance by her. I think she won by, 5 strokes, I think it was?
Yeah, it was
impressive stuff.
Lowest scored a par in U.S. Women's Open history. So, I mean, it was absolute dominance, the perfect word for that. And
yes,
also her brother Min Woo Lee is also on the PGA Tour and tweeted out a baby picture of them together, and it was quite adorable, if I do say so.
Good stuff. One of my other outright bets, Canadian Brooke Henderson, did not have a great tournament. I think they should just let her golf in the men's Canadian Open. How about that? She's the best Canadian golfer. Let her go in the men's Canadian Open.
Looking at this field, they probably need that star power at this point.
Yeah, that's very true. It's a rough looking field. Well, it's not terrible. It's just very top heavy.
Exactly.
So the last thing we got to go over is our closest to the win picks, and this is hilarious. I kind of saw this coming. Is a draw. Neither of our guys missed the cut. You were on Patrick Rogers?
Correct.
And I was on Ryan Palmer. And last week I thought you were on Doug Gim. Doug Gim finished dead last in the tournament, and I was going to make fun of you. Then there was a turn of events. You did change your pick. I was looking at old notes. I pick Ryan Palmer. Of course, Ryan Palmer now finished dead last. Out of 150 golfers, I decided to pick the one who literally finished dead last.
Yeah, you're lucky I was on vacation, or you'd have heard a lot more from me about that.
And not only that, I think it was on the show I told this to you as well. I was going to pick someone else because I was looking at first-round leader odds. Camilo
Villegas.
Villegas?
Yeah.
I was going to pick him. If I would have stuck with him, I would have won the point. He made the cut.
Yep. 750 to 1. You should have known that was just too good of a number to pass up.
He finished T53. So no points for close to the win. You're at what, 4-1 in that competition?
3-1. I think it's 3-1. I would have been up 4-1 if Patrick Rogers had made the cut. But
okay, so it's 3-1. So we'll get into our close to the win picks here first. That's how we always kind of start off the show. If you haven't seen this before, we have a little competition between ourselves. We pick one golfer whose odds are at least 150 to 1 or longer, so complete long shot. And whichever one of our golfers finishes further up the leaderboard at the end of the tournament gets a point. You are winning 3-1. Might be 4-1. We'll double check, but I think it is 3-1. And then whoever has the most points at the end of the PGA Tour season will pay for, or the loser will pay for a round of golf for the winner.
Yes, sir.
And I need a win. I need a win big time. So let's get into our closest to the win picks for the Canadian Open. Go ahead with yours.
Yeah, you might get a win this week if you can get someone who makes the cut, because I'm going with Peter Malnati, and the more I look at it, the less confident I am. So that's not a great feeling. However, I'm going to try and make my case. He's missed his last 2 cuts, which is not, confidence building. But prior to that, he had made 5 straight cuts, and that included 2 top 15 showings. When you look at his numbers, he's been gaining slightly on approach over his last 24 rounds, about 0.1 strokes per round, which is not a lot, but that is offset by the last 8 being as bad as they were, considering he missed the cut and wasn't really that close to the cut either. But when he's at his best, he does play a good approach game, and he has a decent enough short game, and that's really on a short course that we're playing this week. I think that's important. So I like him to make the cut. I saw consensus odds around 200 to 1, so hopefully he can cash for me this week.
And I'm going to go with Adam Svensson. 2 top 10 finishes this year. Has made 3 straight cuts. He's 64th in strokes gain approach, 76th in greens and regulation. It seems to be a second shot golf course, and his approach game is the strongest aspect of his game. So Adam Svensson.
Hey, I'm not surprised you're going with a Canadian in your closest.
Oh, he's Canadian? I didn't even know.
Yep. So there you go. I'm going to go ahead and make it 3-2, honestly.
I would like it on the record that my picks today are completely unbiased. I would like to have that officially on the record.
That makes me question whether or not that's true already.
All right, let's dive into our picks for the Canadian Open. As always, we start with missed cut, and then we go top 20, top 10, top 5, and to win. If you're watching this on Twitter, head over to YouTube, and if you live comment, we'll bring up your picks and talk about them as well. So let's start with our pick to miss the cut. Who do you think is going to miss the cut this week?
So we were actually talking before we went live, and about how, because this field is so top heavy, like, you don't think a Justin Thomas or a Scotty Scheffler, or maybe you do, but I do not think a Justin Thomas or a Scotty Scheffler is going to miss the cut. So, and then the mid tier is just non-existent, so it makes this really hard. But I'm going with one of the few, I think, mid tier golfers in this field, and that's Patrick Reed. He was top 10 at Colonial, and people were thinking, oh, Patrick Reed's found it again, especially at a short course, and he might fit here because this is also a short course. But I think when you look at the numbers, that was the outlier. He was outside of the top 50 last week in Memorial. He lost over 3 strokes ball striking, and he also lost almost nearly 2 strokes putting, which is not very Patrick Reed when he's succeeding. There's just been, all the trends this season say that he just doesn't have his game. And some people have blamed the clubs because he was using the PXG clubs or whatever, but those are out of the bag, and he still didn't play well last week. And outside of Colonial, he just hasn't played well this season. And so I like for him to miss the cut this week.
Do you blame his poor play on @Use Golf Facts?
Absolutely not. That's a motivating factor for him for sure.
And it's definitely not him or his wife or anyone in his family. It is a completely random person.
A completely unbiased fan.
Yes, correct. Who only tweets facts.
They use only golf facts.
Yes.
I mean, it's right there.
Facts only. It's one of my favorite sports stories in the world right now. Yeah, like you said, like we talked about before we went live, missing the cut is probably the toughest bet to try to place this week because with it, usually you want to, like, as the ice cream truck goes by my window, usually the top tier guys, like if there's mid-level guys that can pass them, then some of those top tier guys are going to miss the cut. But with it being such a large gap between the top tier and kind of the rest of the field, like it's hard to imagine any of these guys missing the cut. So
Right.
as hard as I thought last week was tough trying to pick a miss the cut winner, and historically I've actually done pretty well with my miss the cut picks. This week is, I think, even harder. So I'm going to go with Harold Varner, unfortunately. Favorite of the show. We like Harold Varner. But he is 137th in greens and regulation. And like I keep saying, like, I'm pretty sure this is a second shot golf course. Like, if you're bad off the tee, it's not really going to hurt you this week. It's really going to be mostly second shot and a little bit of short game. And maybe, and once again, playing, armchair psychologist, which I don't really like to do, but is he going to take a little bit of a step back after that all-time collapse of a back nine of the Charles Schwab Challenge in his last start? Like, maybe he's a professional golfer. Maybe he can get over that. But that was an all-time bad. Like, he looked like he was just some scrub down at your local Muni course. Like, that would shoot like 11 over that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he looked like you and I, honestly, like out there.
I might be a little bit worse, to be honest. Maybe he looked like you out there. He shot 11 over. I would shoot, 25, 30 over at a Muni course. But yes, I guess. Is that going to weigh in his mind? Maybe, maybe not. But I can't really find any other, reason to back some of these top guys to miss the cut. Because like I said, there's just no mid-tier that can kind of knock these top guys off. He's not a big greens and regulation guy. That's the best I can find. So.
No, I don't hate it. I looked at him in a lot of the same reasoning you were saying. Like, if you're going to have, like, I don't think inaccuracy off the tee is going to be a huge thing this week. But at the same time, it could put him in some bad positions. And if he's a low greens and reg guy, and then after the last tournament that he had, the narrative's there for him to miss the cut. So it's possible.
So we have a live comment here. Someone actually disagreeing with us. He says,
Okay.
Matthew Maciarczyk. I apologize for mispronouncing your last name. He says, St. George's is my home course. The rough was halfway up my knee. Bad off the tee will definitely hurt.
Well, all right, then I like your pick even more.
So the reason, and maybe this is why you're saying it as well, and why I'm saying I don't think off the tee is going to hurt, because the last time I was at St. George's was back in 2010, and the top 10 guys who finished in it, none of them ranked in the top 50 in strokes gained off the tee heading into the tournament. So the top guys were not guys who are good off the tee. So we're just kind of using that and putting it forward to this year because we don't have recent data to go off of. So that's really all we kind of have. So to be fair, it is possible that they made significant changes and it's going to play very differently than it did 12 years ago. But we have to base it off something. And that's what we're kind of – I'm assuming that's why you're thinking it's not too hard off the tee too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's 12-year-old data, but it's what we have. So we have to go with it.
Yes.
So.
But now maybe we just got some inside information. So now maybe we want to switch our picks.
I know, right?
Yeah. Okay. Let's dive into top 20. Go ahead and give me your top 20 pick.
For top 20, so like you said, this field is very top heavy. And for top 20 and top 10, I didn't want to, go very chalky. So I went a little off the board. I'm going with David Lipsky to finish in the top 20 this week. He's quietly, by his standards, been playing some pretty good golf this year. A couple months ago, he was top 6 at both the Zurich and the Mexico Open, and those were in back-to-back weeks. And then he's also had 3 straight top 50s, which, I mean, is not great, but he's been playing well. One of those was a top 25 as well. But his game seems to fit a short course really well. He's 44th on the PGA Tour this year in par 3 scoring average. And he's not great on par 5s, which you have to take advantage of here, but he is in the top 100, so he's not like going to lose a ton of strokes on the par 5s to the field. But where he's really succeeded, and like you said, it was a second shot golf course, which is what my data also says. Over the last 20 rounds, he's gaining 0.67 strokes per round on approach, and he's also putting really well. And I think putting is going to be really important if we're talking about a second shot golf course. So I think Lipsky at what I saw was plus 300 consensus odds. With the way he's played this year, I think he's a really good fit for this course to kind of sneak into a top 20 right there.
I like that pick. David Lipsky would usually, I feel like, be someone we would hear in closest to the win as opposed to top 20. All right,
Yeah, I
getting
mean, he was
aggressive.
130 to 1, whereas outright odds, I don't necessarily like those, but
Scott Sneed chimes in, taking a shot on Aaron Rye at 100 win in top 20 plus 350. I feel like I've bet on him, or at least looked at him at some point this season. I like that pick quite a bit, though. If you're looking for a long shot guy, 100 to 1 for sure. But it's going to be tough for
no,
these long shot guys because of just how top heavy the field is. But I like top 20 plus 350 quite a bit.
yeah, and Aaron Rye's a guy he's a popper. Like he'll miss the cut one week, but then he'll be in the top 20 next week. Like that's kind of like a lot of young players, that's how they pop like that. And he's been consistent with doing that. And so I like that pick a lot as well.
43rd in greens and regulation, 73rd in strokes gained approach. Looks like a guy who could do well here as well. So I like that pick quite a bit, Scott. Good luck with that. My top 20, Mackenzie Hughes. For no other reason other than he has 5 top 20 finishes this season. He's 12th in strokes gained putting. So he's one of the best putters on tour. I feel like he's kind of underrated in that aspect. And his best shots are from short approaches. And it looks like a lot of them, the majority of them, it looks like are going to be 175 yards or shorter. And that's where his best approaches come from. And another thing that's interesting, 5 par 3s at this course. And I think all 5 of them are over 200 yards too. So even though it's a short course, and there's going to be a lot of short approaches on the par 4s and par 5s, ironically, the par 3s are very long, though. So you want to look at guys who do good in longer par 3s. And Mackenzie Hughes, T40 and par 3 scoring for par 3s between 200 and 225 yards. So Scott says biased picks, huh? No, why would this pick be biased?
No idea. Can't imagine why.
I don't know what he's talking about. There's no biased picks here. I just go strictly off the number. I don't look at anything else for these picks.
I mean, I'm looking at him and I don't see anything out of the normal.
Yeah, there's nothing these guys have in common. Harold Varner, why would I be biased with him? So there we go. Mackenzie Hughes to finish in the top 20 is my top 20 pick. Let's move on to top 10. Who do you got?
For top 10, I've actually got the guy who you picked to go top 20 last week, and that's CT Pan. I saw him at plus 650 consensus odds for a top 10, which are obviously that's great value if he can succeed on it. But he's known as the short course specialist. Like when you hear people talk about CT Pan, he thrives whenever it's a short course because he's very short off the tee. But he's 22nd on PGA Tour this season in par 3 scoring average, and he has been gaining on approach, 0.64 strokes per round over the last 30 rounds. And he's also not a great putter, but he's, about an average putter. So he's not going to, hurt himself with short game. Like I said, because there's 5 par 3s, there's also 5 par 5s on this course. And he is outside the top 140 in par 5 scoring average. So that does worry me a little bit. But I think he's going to be able to take advantage of the par 3s and, the ability to play a game that he can't on longer courses and come for a top 10 this week when he has really good odds to do so.
I like CT Pan. I like that pick. It seems like kind of a course that will fit his style of play as well. So, he was kind of in the mix for a moment there this past week. So I think his game's certainly trending in the right direction as well.
Mm-hmm.
But did you say you had consensus odds for that one?
Yeah, plus 650, which I thought was great value for a guy who's historically done so well on short courses.
Yeah, and even though it's a top-heavy event, that doesn't mean the top 10 guys are going to be like the top. Like, there's going to be some longer shot guys that are going to sneak in there. So, I like that pick quite a bit. My top 10 pick, Adam Hadwin.
I was literally going to say Adam Hadwin.
His biggest weakness is play off the tee. I don't think that's going to hurt him this week at St. George's, at least from my research. Of course, the commenter, Matt, who's a member at that course. Fancy, by the way. Shout out to Matthew for being a member at such a nice course. Can you get me on, Matthew? Thank you. I would love to. I'm going to be in Toronto in a couple weeks. If off the tee play doesn't hurt guys, and that's not going to hurt Adam Hadwin because that is his biggest weakness. But he hasn't had the results this year that I think have warranted a ton of hype. but also like his stats are fantastic this year. 30th in strokes gained approach, 18th in strokes gained around the green, 66th in strokes gained putting. He's coming off a T18 at the Memorial last week, so his form is turning in the right direction as well. And for no other reason other than those stats that I just listed, I like Adam Hadwin to finish in the top 10.
So I purposefully did not include Adam Hadwin in my picks because I thought that you might talk about him. Just had a hunch that might happen. But even if it is penal off the tee, like the one thing he loses strokes off the tee because he's not a long hitter. He is an accurate driver when he's in form, and so I actually really like that pick a lot for a top 10.
So even if the rough is long, that's not going to hurt him because, maybe the rough is long, but it's certainly not a long course where you have to be really long off the tee. So I think it's a good time for Adam Hadwin to shine this week.
No, I like that pick a lot for sure.
All right, let's move into top 5. Give me your top 5 pick.
Top 5, I'm going with our kryptonite, Matt Fitzpatrick, to finish in the top 5.
I can't do it anymore. I'm off Fitzpatrick. I'm done.
So this is my last chance for him until next week when I surely convince myself that he's going to do something where he won the U.S. Amateur. But I saw it plus 330 consensus odds for Fitzpatrick to finish in the top 5 this week. He's obviously one of the favorites considering how well he's played. He's coming off a missed cut at the Memorial, but that actually makes me like him because he got the bad feels from his Sunday at the PGA Championship when he kind of collapsed and would have had a chance to win had he not. He got those out of the way, but he was top 5 in his 2 previous starts prior to the Memorial. So, and overall, the numbers still say that he's one of the best players on PGA Tour this season. He's still leading the tour in strokes gained total. He is 44th in par 3 scoring on tour this season, and he's 20th in par 5 scoring. So, 5 of each of those, which is abnormal for a par 70 course on the PGA Tour, and he's going to be able to take advantage of those given his numbers this season. His ball striking remains on point. He's an accurate hitter off the tee. He knows how to club down, and he can play in different styles of conditions. And I just like for him to start trending towards Brookline. And
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. I was done, basically.
I was just going to say Scott Snee chimed in Fitz top 20 is even money. I mean, if you don't want to get as aggressive with the top 5, I mean, with how top heavy this event is, to be able to get that at top 20, I would like that bet. But
absolutely.
Fitzpatrick just scares me. I have PTSD from betting on Fitzpatrick this season.
And I totally get that. And I mean, I've said this before when we've talked about guys that we have lost money on pretty routinely. Yes. I try to be more conservative. Like I was thinking Fitzpatrick to win, and I'm like, well, he doesn't win, so I'm going to go top 5 and just try and play it a little more conservative given his odds. So that's why he's a top 5 pick this week.
He won the U.S. Amateur at Brookline. You said
he did. Yes, I know.
I might have to bet on him next week.
I know. It's so hard.
Damn. I wish I did not know that, or I wish that didn't happen because now he's going to be an auto bet for me next week.
Well, if I didn't tell you, you were going to hear it at least 45 times over the next week. So
yeah, damn. All right, Matt Fitzpatrick to finish in the top 5. Speaking of golfers who have lost us a lot of money, well, this one's has lost me a ton of money. My top 5 pick.
It's Corey Connors.
Corey Connors. 4th in greens and regulation. We know this. He's a great ball striker. It's a second shot golf course. He's a second shot guy. 21st overall in strokes gained tee to green. It looked like his game was falling off a little bit, but then he had a T13 at the Memorial last week, a very promising sign. And his best approach areas are the shorter areas. 21st in approaches from 100 to 125 yards out. 53rd in approaches from 125 to 150 yards out. Should benefit, like I said, from a top-heavy field. I mean, he might not win. That's why I'm only taking him top 5. But he only has a handful of guys that can really compete on his level. So if he has his A game, he should be in contention on Sunday. It should be a fun little story. I think a Canadian has to be in contention this week. I think it's either going to be Corey Connors or Adam Hadwin. Obviously, those are the 2 best Canadians, so it makes the most sense. But I'd like one of them in contention would be fun. So just a nice, safe top 5 for Corey Connors.
No, I mean, so obviously I lost money on him last week betting on him to miss the cut.
Right.
but like you said, his form to me going into the Memorial wasn't Corey Connors. He wasn't ball striking well, and when he's not ball striking well, he's not going to succeed. And then he goes out of Memorial and starts finding that ball striking again. So if he's doing that and he's in this top heavy field, I think that's a great top 5 pick if he can keep that up.
Once again, my picks are completely unbiased. The only things that I like about them is that I think each of their games fit the course.
Exactly. I mean, Mike Weir is obviously going to be your winner. So.
Scott Sneed says your boy Connors top 20 plus 105. That's plus money for Corey Connors to finish in the top 20 here. Fantastic value. I will say, even though he is Canadian, no real home advantage in the sense. I actually read that he's never played this course before, so I think he is an Ontario guy, but I guess he's never played at St. George's, which I thought was kind of strange. He should have the fans backing him. I don't know if that helps or hurts in golf, though, to be honest. But the fans obviously will be cheering for him. But if you want to get a little bit safer with Corey Connors, you can't hate plus money on a top 20 finish.
Yeah, I mean, you have Connors and Fitzpatrick both at plus money for top 20. That's 2 easy bets like that. You can just save yourself a little bit if none of our picks cash. So.
Yep. And actually, with how our picks have gone, that's probably a good call because it seems like a lot of the time our picks finish like one stroke out of where we need them to finish. So. All right, let's get down to the final pick. Our pick to win the 2022 Canadian Open. Rory McIlroy is technically the 3-year defending champ of this tournament. I forgot he was the last guy to win it.
Yeah, he's holding on to the crown for dear life.
Yep.
So I'm going for my pick to win. I'm going with Sam Burns to be a back-to-back winner in his last 2 starts. I saw him at plus 1,800 consensus odds to win. He's obviously one of the favorites, but over the last 20 rounds, he's first in this field in strokes gained putting. And if he's hot with the putter, the rest of his game is just perfect for this course. Like, he's a ball striking phenom. And like we've said many times, after he won at Colonial, which is a course that correlates pretty heavily to here with how short it is and like how it plays, he is one of the most underrated players on the PGA Tour. And I think the fact that he's at plus 1,800, even though those aren't long odds, they're longer than they probably should be for the form that he's been in over the past basically 2 years. The critique might be that, his driving accuracy is not like necessarily the strength of his game, but that didn't stop him at Colonial, and that hasn't stopped him in other short courses. He's a guy whose game can play anywhere because he's that good of a ball striker and that smart of a young player. And so I really like for him to, I think he has all the tools and is in the right form to come out and go back to back in his last 2 starts.
I wrote my article on BetSided. I haven't published it yet, but I put down 3 outright picks to win, and Sam Burns is one of them. I could not agree. I like to play devil's advocate with you. I swear today, I don't know if you guys can hear it. Listen to the loudest cars in New York City have been driving past my window the past 20 minutes. It's just like garbage truck, someone blasting their music, a motorcycle, a guy with a fart can for a muffler. It's insane. Someone's just honking their horn. I hate this. Sam Burns, I think his style of play fits really well. We've been talking about him, how we need to start respecting Sam Burns. His odds, like you said, they're 18-1. They should be shorter than that based on the field. He's really good in long par 3s too, which is one thing that I found. So a lot of things that you like at this course. You like Sam Burns kind of has those strengths. I like to play devil's advocate with you. I've not really done that on this show, but I can't lie. If I like the picks, I like the picks.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to play devil's advocate to play devil's advocate. Like, right. We'd want to give good advice, not, be combative.
Right. But also, if I do disagree with the pick, I will disagree with the pick. But this show,
100%.
Except for Matt Fitzpatrick scares me a little bit, but that's my fault. My pick to win.
Mike Weir
at 550-1. No. My pick to win is the same as last week. Give me Cam Smith.
Okay.
10-1 this week. I liked him last week. Like I said, he was in contention. He was T2 heading into Sunday. He had a bad round. I'm not going to judge him too much for it, though. But I think this course fits his style even more than last week did. I don't think his inaccurate driving will hurt him as much. Obviously, we've debated that on the show already with one of the commenters. We'll see if that comes into play or not. But his biggest weakness is driving regardless, and it seems to be that bad drivers don't suffer too much at this course based on 2010. I think maybe I'm just like getting doxxed and people are watching the stream and they know where I live and now they're just parking outside my apartment and just honking their horns.
This is Matthew just alerting us that the rough is really long yet again.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Cameron Smith, also fantastic at short approach shots. First in approaches from 100 to 125 yards out, 87th and 125 to 150, and then 5th and 150 to 175. So obviously a great ball striker, arguably the best approach player on tour right now. Fantastic short game, one of the best putters on tour. 10 to 1, so obviously a little bit of shorter odds, but it's probably going to be one of these top-tier guys that wins this week. So of the top-tier guys, I'll take the Australian Cam Smith, and also Australia's part of the monarchy just like Canada. So it might not be a Canadian guy, but it's kind of related.
It's like a cousin. Australia is the cousin of Canada.
I agree. So there you go, Cam Smith to win.
I mean, it's hard to argue with any of your points. Like, obviously, our new information, if it turns out to be true, that inaccuracy off the tee might be a little more penal than we expected when we made these picks. That could be a little worrisome. However, if it is not as penal, and with the way his approach game right now has been unbelievable, and from bad spots too. So if he finds any kind of good spots, if he can hone in the driver a little bit, it's short odds at 10 to 1, but the rest of his game is informed to win. So
now we do have to mention before we wrap things up, the first LIV event is this week. Dustin Johnson's obviously the biggest name who'll be competing in it. The one who was competing in it that I was like the most shocked and disappointed by was Taylor Gooch, who we both kind of talked up on the show. The other ones aren't really surprising. They're mostly just older guys who at this point are just going to do it for the paycheck. Kevin Na, Sergio Garcia, who doesn't like the PGA Tour. He basically announced that he's going to leave a few weeks ago. Charles Schwartzel, Ian Poulter, Lee Westwood, Martin Kamer, Hudson Swafford, who I think he won already this year on the PGA Tour. That one was a little bit surprising, maybe not as big of a name as the other guys. So that is this week. Do you have you looked at the odds? Do you have a feel for that whatsoever?
So I don't know the odds off the top of my head. I have looked at them. The one guy who kind of stands out is Bernd Wiesberger.
25 to 1.
Yeah, so I mean he's played well on the DP World Tour a lot this year, and when he's come over to the PGA Tour, he's not been in contention necessarily, but he's not played badly. And you look at the top, like the biggest names like DJ. DJ's not been in form almost at all this year, and then I worry. I mean, Taylor Gooch would probably be, my outright pick just because I think he's probably the best golfer in the field. But at the same time, if I'm looking for more value, I like Bernd Wiesberger.
I will say Sam Horsfield at 20 to 1, which is another guy who's kind of disappointed. He's obviously more of a DP World Tour guy, an English guy. But I feel like he's kind of was an up-and-coming English guy. I think so. Isn't he young? Is he young?
Absolutely. And he's won a couple times on DP this season too.
Yeah, he's 25. Yeah, young, up-and-coming English golfer. Is kind of disappointed to see him. So if I were to, I'm probably not going to bet on it, to be honest. I don't know anything about this course. I'm not going to handicap it. It feels weird to even handicap it or watch it. But if I were to give it a pick, I'd say Sam Horsfield 20 to 1, and you're saying Bernd Wiesberger 25 to 1. So
yeah,
won't bet on it. But if Sam Horsfield wins, I will fully take credit for it and brag about it.
The funniest thing I have seen about this event is that everyone obviously is going over there to take the big paycheck from the Saudi government and Greg Norman, and they're having Jessie J perform at the event, who sings the song "It's Not About the Money, Money," and it's unbelievable the irony in all of this.
Oh God! And none of them will just come out and say, "Yeah, I just want a lot of money."
I mean, I think DJ pretty much did. He's DJ, so he doesn't actually say anything ever.
Right. He said it in a roundabout way, like, this is the best decision for my family.
Yeah.
I just like, if someone would just go and be like, yeah, listen, I can't pass up the amount of money they're going to pay me, so I'll take the blood money, I would kind of respect it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to at this point. I did see, I mean, the money that's getting thrown around is absurd. Like, did you see the report that Harold Varner turned down $38 million to go over there? Like, it's just unbelievable. DJ
is getting paid more money than Tiger Woods made in career earnings. That's insane. The crazy stat. Tiger Woods, and just talking like winnings, obviously not sponsorship, but just winnings from tournaments, in his career, I think, is $138 million, and they're paying Dustin Johnson $150 million.
Unbelievable.
It's a ton of money. That's crazy.
It really is.
$12 million more dollars to do for, I think it's like a 4-year contract or something like that, more than the greatest golfer to ever live made throughout his career. Crazy.
Unbelievable. And where's it being broadcast? Is it on YouTube? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's YouTube. Yeah.
I
mean, they're not going to make that money back.
No, absolutely not. It's gonna be a disaster, and I'm probably gonna tune in just to. They have a shotgun start. It's just gonna be a circus, and who doesn't like the circus? So I'm gonna tune in.
It's gonna be a shotgun start.
Oh yeah,
that's weird.
Oh, I know. Everything about it's weird, Ian. Everything about it.
All right, moving forward, we are just going to talk solely LIV events moving forward.
Welcome to the Live Green on the Greens.
Yeah. Hey, if Saudi wants to pay me $150 million, maybe we'll talk LIV. We'll see.
Hey, reach out to us. Not really, though.
No, not really. No, I take that back. I was joking. All right, really quick, let's just recap your picks if you have them in front of you there. Your picks for the Canadian Open.
Yep. So closest to the win, I have Peter Malnati this week. To miss the cut, Patrick Reed. Top 20, David Lipsky. Top 10, CT Pan. Top 5, Matt Fitzpatrick. And Sam Burns to win the RBC Canadian Open.
Okay. And my closest to the win is Adam Svensson, unbiased pick. Missed the cut, Harold Varner. Top 20, Mackenzie Hughes, unbiased pick. Top 10, Adam Hadwin, unbiased pick. Top 5, Corey Connors, unbiased pick. And then to win is Cam Smith. Oh, Canada. Let's do it. All right.
Your Canadians have to win something since the Maple Leafs are watching the playoffs at home.
Yeah, the Oilers are about to be the last Canadian team eliminated. So, and we said this last week, Canadian hasn't won this event since 1954. Pat something?
Yeah, I gave you the stat, and I don't remember.
It's Pat something. 1954. We need to win the Canadian Open. It's been too long. So go Canada this weekend. Thank you for everyone for watching this on YouTube. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll be back next week for the U.S. Open. Not quite as big as the Canadian Open, but still a pretty important event. So we'll talk about that next week. We'll see you then. Good luck with your picks this weekend.